Delighted to be joined by Bill Eddins, who will be leading our orchestra for the first time, January 8th through 10th. Bill, you've conducted major orchestras across the country and have an international career leading orchestras, opera companies, other performances. Talk about what it's like for to lead an orchestra for the first time. This is your first time conducting the orchestra in Phoenix.
Yeah, in the business, we call it a hot date. I mean, you have 2-3 days to come to some kind of accommodation with a group of musicians. And we're a slightly strange bunch. I know you, you probably know that. And you have to make it work. So the very first rehearsal is always interesting. And what I love to do, especially when we have a major piece like a Brahms symphony, I start at the beginning. And I say, okay, folks, I'll see you in 44 minutes. And we just go all the way through it because it gives them a sense of me, who I am as a conductor and a musician. And it allows me the opportunity to keep my ears open and go, okay, what is this orchestra telling me? So that, that opening hour is so critically important to setting the tone of what it is that you want to accomplish over the next couple of days.
It's going to be a wonderful program. And before we talk a little bit more about what we'll be performing, I know our audience members would love to learn more about you as a person. I think you graduated from the Eastman School at the age of 18, originally from Buffalo, New York. Amazing story.
The great city of Buffalo, New York. Please say that. Go Bills.
And we're so glad you're going to be coming to the great city of Phoenix next week. And can you just talk, what drew you to music, and how did you decide to become a conductor?
Lord, we don't have enough time. My parents say that the first professional musician I ever met was the cellist of the Stradivari Quartet. I was 9-10 months old.
Okay.
But when I was 5, my parents bought a piano, a very rare piano, a Wurlitzer, 7-foot. It was one of only 12 made. They bought it at a garage sale. And evidently I took to it like a fish to water. So I've always played music. I do not remember a time before I could read music. It's just been a part of my life. And then I got to Eastman, and being a pianist, you never play with other people, or sometimes you play chamber music, but someone grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and threw me into the wind ensemble. Because, as you know, being an oboist, wind ensembles frequently have these big keyboard parts.
Sure. And
I found myself playing in an ensemble for the first time. And the next thing I know, they grabbed me again and threw me into the orchestra. And I had never heard anything like this, Peter. It was just, it was incredible being surrounded by this music. And I said, my God, I got to get me some of this. I got to get more of this. And you know what? You know what I want to do? I want to do a Brahms symphony. Now, there ain't a lot of great piano parts in the symphonies of Johannes Brahms. Matter of fact, there are none. So my options were learn another instrument like violin so I could play in the section, or get up in front of them and wave my arms around. And I said, I'm going to try that. That was 44 years ago, and here I am.
That's just a wonderful story, Bill. And we often have young people at our concerts, and if there are our parents or their children listening to this, I think that's going to be very inspiring to them. So the program that we're going to be doing is a really interesting one. We're going to be playing Brahms' First Symphony, as you've been talking about, and we'll also be joined by the brilliant Bella Hristova to play the Wynton Marsalis Violin Concerto. Wondering if you want to talk a little bit about that. And I don't think there are very many violinists who play that piece.
Oh, yeah, this is a big piece, and this is Wynton wrote it for Nikki, who premiered it in Philadelphia, and Bella's an incredible player. This is our third or fourth time that we've worked together, and the second time we're going to be doing the Marsalis together. She's one of those who can actually play this piece and bring its character to life. I've worked a lot with Wynton over the last 10 years. I fell into this completely by accident, but Wynton writes these huge pieces for the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra and classical orchestras. And I've done 2 or 3 of these a year with him. So I'm really familiar with his music, and with him, I think this is his best piece. I really do. And it's such a wonderful piece. One of the reasons is that it doesn't have a drum set. It doesn't have the rhythm set. So what that does is it allows him to be very romantic and impressionistic and really play with time and things like that, where usually time would be a little bit more established. There's a lot of give and take in this piece, which is really marvelous. Wynton, I think, is one of the most interesting composers alive, because here's a guy who is the only person to ever win a Grammy Award in the same year for a classical recording and a jazz recording. He's the only person. So he has his ears open. He loves music of all types and all sorts. And he has that history behind him, and he brings that history to the works that he creates. So there are elements of classical music, form, structure, thematic material, and such like that. And then there are all these things from jazz or samba, or Brazilian or indigenous musics that come in, and they're all brought in a way that is just the compositional structure is such that you sit there and you hear all these things go by and you can't help but smile, because it's such an interesting kind of overlay of the history of music. I really love the music that he writes, and I'm particularly enamored with this violin concerto. It's just such a wonderful piece, and it's surprising, it's beautiful, it's hilarious at times, and there are just so many elements that he brings in. The Black Church, samba, as I mentioned before, just impressionism. There's these moments of Debussy and Ravel that are just glorious. It's a really interesting piece.
This is going to be just fascinating. And Bella's been with us before. She's got big fans in Phoenix. We're just thrilled that she's coming back and is going to be with us for this piece. Just wonderful. So this program is going to begin with the Ayanna Witter-Johnson. And Blush, can talk a little bit about that, if you would.
I was asked to premiere this piece at the Edinburgh Festival a few years back. And I did not know anything about Ayanna at the time. And then she walks in, and she's just this gorgeous, glorious, tall Black woman. She looks like she walked straight out of Wakanda. But she has so many things going on. She's a singer. She's a cellist. She is into more popular music. She does classical music. The last time I saw her was 14 months ago here in the Twin Cities, where I'm recording this with you. And it was before the concert with Peter Gabriel, because she was on tour with him. She was singing and playing cello. So, I'm looking up on stage. I've been a Peter Gabriel fan for 40 years. I'm looking up on stage. I knew 3 people up on stage, which was so cool. But, I also, know this gal who is this composer who writes this music. This particular piece is just a little homage to her grandmother. She wrote it in memory of her, and it is memories of her time growing up in Jamaica. It's just this little 8-9 minute kind of vignette, and it's supposed to just take you to the islands and just give you an idea of what it was like to be there, just kind of the island life. So it's a lovely piece. I think it's going to be the perfect introduction to Wynton's piece, which will be next, and I think people will just really love it. They'll just find it very, very charming and very pleasant.
What a fantastic way to begin the new year. This program, just incredible. Now, in addition to Brahms 1, you've also selected a mystery piece, and although we're going to keep that a mystery until next week, I think you've selected something that goes along with some of the key themes in the program. Any hints you want to give our audience on what this is going to be?
Yeah, well, a couple things. As I say, I worked with Ayanna, I worked with Wynton, so I wanted to pick a piece of someone else who I've worked with.
Mhm.
All right, so that's one hint. But the other thing is the Ayanna's piece and Wynton's piece are very much about places or places in time. Ayanna's piece about Jamaica. Wynton's piece, so we're in New Orleans in 1920. Oh, we're in New York in 1950. You get these elements. And so I wanted to pick a piece that was about a place and time in history, and specifically in American history, which should resonate with people.
And
How's that?
that's good. And all anyone needs to do, if you're listening to this interview, is like, what piece is this going to be? Just join us at Symphony Hall, January 8th through 10th. And the program, of course, concludes with one of the greatest works in all the classical repertoire, Brahms Symphony No. 1. You spoke about how that was part of what led you to become a conductor. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was because of Brahms. So anytime I get to do a Brahms symphony, Bill is a happy guy.
That's so great. We are so delighted to welcome you to Phoenix. You're doing this from the Twin Cities in Minnesota. I'm optimistic that you will enjoy the weather when you're here, and
Yep.
again, all of us come into the Symphony Hall January 8th, 9th, and 10th for our first performances of the new year. Bill, thank you so much for taking time to talk today.
It's my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all and meeting the orchestra.
Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much.